Oh,
Well
give
then,
us 1 second. Molly just texted me. She is like on her way in right now, and
okay, yeah, we could just wait until she gets here before we move on.
yeah, give it just a second.
There she is.
There
All
she
right,
is.
sweet. Hi, Molly.
Hello, apologize for my delay.
Oh, no problem. We just got started, so we were just about to do. Well, we just did roll call, and you were here. We were just about to do the minutes, um, from July 9th,
Oh, you know what?
2025.
I changed to July 30th because I thought it'd be more helpful to have the more recent ones.
Oh, I don't know if I saw that. I'm sorry. Okay, so we're talking about the July 30th minutes. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
it was more activity and changing and organizing.
Right.
Laura,
Okay.
sorry.
Is there a motion to
Yes,
approve?
I move to approve the July 30th minutes.
I do not yet. Laura, I'm wondering if the piece that we were talking about with the EG, if that could just go in square brackets, and that would make it, if you put that piece in square brackets, that would make it clear that it's an editorial
Okay, did
comment
I put it
rather
in
than.
parentheses instead? Oh, okay, I did. Maybe I just, and have it, did you say EG instead of IE?
No, IE is fine. Just
Okay,
I just meant like the square brackets gives the
sure.
sense that
I
this
can
is not.
delete it entirely. I just know I personally wasn't quite sure, couldn't remember what, so I thought it'd be helpful to reference
It was
some,
helpful.
whether or not they were the ones you were thinking of.
Okay,
Okay, sure.
great, thank you. With that, I second.
Great. Oh, you seconded that. Sorry. Okay. Roll call, please, Laura.
Councillor Dobbs,
Yes.
Councillor Moulton,
Yes.
Councillor Perry,
Yes.
Member Cutler,
Yes.
and Member Moses.
Yes.
Okay, those minutes are approved unanimously. Um, so basically, Councilor Perry and I talked a couple days ago, and we were thinking that tonight could be our sort of our last organizational meeting where we go over, kind of assign to take assignments for what we want to cover at our future meetings, and so after tonight's meeting, basically, I feel like the goal is to just get started on our work and start doing our reports and getting ready for our final report. With that in mind, the first thing we were going to talk about is the housekeeping discussion, and we have a few items that we. So basically, yeah. Now that we've categorized it, we can sort of take a look at how we want to take it from here. So we have the miscellaneous Office of Planning and Sustainability zoning changes, gender neutral language, and then the wild animals insert the and phrase is in charge of. Yeah, basically those three things. Laura.
I haven't, the only ones that I've put in the format of a spreadsheet are the zoning changes from the Office of Planning and Sustainability. So I was going to suggest, if there's no objection, I know now we've added at the last meeting other things to that bucket, you know, like you said, the one to the animal changes and pedestrian ordinances and the gender neutral. I was thinking of having another section that would just be general code amendments, since this is zoning code. That way, that would allow you guys to act, because the zoning ones are complete as far as I know. So that would allow you to act on them tonight if you wanted to, because then I can compile the other ones for action at another meeting. Or, I mean, I guess you
Maybe,
could
yeah. I mean,
act.
I would be open to that if other members are too.
That works for me. I don't see why not.
Laura.
Because one thing, I think the pedestrian ordinances, Stan said, you know, before he would want to approve those, he would want to speak to the police chief. So at least that one needed additional action before it could be recommended for approval.
Yes.
Okay.
Dane, you also had your hand up. a
Nope.
second ago?
I thought
Oh,
Laura
okay.
was calling for a motion.
Oh,
Well, sorry, go ahead again, Laura.
and I don't know if everyone understood, it's exactly as the planning department originally submitted it to us, except that it no longer includes the change to the definition of open space and frontage and the main wall sign. And that was because I understood Stan to want to remove the main wall sign, and the other two, I sent an email out this afternoon with the definition of frontage. I'd been told that it was going to make some, like about 9 lots pre-existing non-conforming. And I didn't know if that kind of kicked it into a category where it might not want to be approved as a housekeeping change. That's up to you guys. And then the other one, the definition of the openness space, has now been amended as part of Councilor Elkins and Councilor Jarrett's parking reduction ordinance.
Yes. Council Perry.
Yes. So speaking of which one is that? The definition of open space. So I'm also on legislative matters, and we are moving forward to the next recommendation. But I feel like super sleuths here could help with one little thing. In the changes that we have for open space, Laura, do you have that document that we were discussing at the legislature?
The only change was right now it speaks of terraced areas, and you guys were changing it to ground level patios so that it reflects the change that the planning department was asking for. I'm sorry, you're breaking up a little bit.
Right before that. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello.
You're good now.
So right before that terrace change, there is a section that says this is for bike parking. It's open or covered bicycle parking that is visible on at least one side. And we were having a little bit of an issue of how to word that. The point is to have it so that people don't just build a shed on their property, which will, and it has to be dedicated to bikes. So the way to work around it, Marissa and Alex said it had to be visible on one side, but it feels a little counterintuitive if the point is to protect your property. So if anyone has any suggestions before our next meeting, have at it, and you can send that to us.
Councilor Moulton?
Yeah, yes, I think that's a good point, Councilor Perry. I sat through, I'm not on legislative matters, but I sat through that discussion, but that is a provision of the ordinance that was positively recommended that's separate from this particular housekeeping change that was just to clarify wording about people don't really talk about terraces, they talk about patios. So it was a clarification in wording that was part of the original housekeeping package that Planning and Sustainability had sent to ordinance review. That doesn't mean that any of us or anybody else who's listening who has a suggestion on that open bicycle parking wording shouldn't bring that to the next city council meeting on the 21st.
Right.
Thank you.
Oh,
So Laura, go ahead.
the one other thing was Nathan Chung sent out an email today questioning, I guess, whether the definition of parking space was more substantive. So yeah, I mean, I didn't fully understand his email, but so that was something that you guys could choose to remove if you didn't think it belonged with the housekeeping changes. I don't know if anyone saw that. It was kind of later in the afternoon.
I did see it. Yeah,
Okay.
I saw that. Yeah. Yeah. Does anybody have any thoughts on this right now? So do we feel ready to vote on any of this, or do you think we should?
Hang on, I'm not seeing the parking spot one. I'm looking at a note from Nathan that came in today
Yeah, that's the one.
about removing the planning board requirement that backyard houses have a porch is basically the best way I can summarize that ordinance.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I think, yes, I think I just, Nathan and I also talked about the parking one today, but he resolved my question over that. I'm sorry. You're right. It was the one about the covered entry and the side setback. Well, the planning board, yes, that
Yeah,
that they
so it
needed
seems
to, that,
like
sorry.
for some reason we have a rule that says if you have a porch and you build a house in your backyard, it too must have a porch. Or a covered entry of some sort. But if your house does not have a covered entry, then the house in your backyard does not have to have one either. And that just seems borderline insane. Why do we care? I'm totally in favor of striking that requirement unless somebody can convince me otherwise.
Well, I haven't seen that. Where was this part of the original housekeeping package of changes that planning and sustainability sent us?
Yeah, do you have the spreadsheet open? I can share it if you don't. Let me share this.
Yeah,
And
go.
I could
go.
share Nathan's email too.
Stan, take a look. Can you see this?
35611.
Is this big
That
enough?
one.
Okay. So basically it says when a dwelling unit is located to the rear of another dwelling unit, right? So like in your backyard, that has a covered front entry. The principal entrance to the rear dwelling may face the side or rear of the lot. So it doesn't matter where you put the front door. It just matters that you have to have a covered front entry. And that entry has to be 20 feet from the lot line it's facing unless it has other means to create a buffer or outdoor private space to adjoining properties. And the suggestion from Nathan, or the request from Nathan, is to remove the approval requirement for alternative screening methods for side or rear facing entries when the entries don't have at least 20 feet of setback. Laura's
Laura?
got her hand up. Yeah.
Laura?
And, you know, from further conversation with him, he thought that should be removed because the city council just approved an ordinance to remove the site plan review process for 2-family units. So I guess now they're approved or reviewed at the more administrative level between the building commissioner and planning department. So I guess they no longer are required to go through the planning board process. So he thought that was kind of left hanging, that the planning board would have to approve an alternative privacy buffer if they didn't meet the 20-foot setback, since there is no longer a planning department review required for 2-family dwellings. So that was his reason for thinking it should be removed, that it was kind of like left over from when 2 families required planning board review, and now they don't.
Well, is this a change from the original package?
No, it's just Nathan calling out that perhaps this is more substantive rather, you know, it's not. This is exactly what he submitted with the original package. He
was flagging it as something that might require more other eyes on it, other eyes than ours.
That's exactly right.
Well, in my opinion, I don't see a need for any further review of if the planning department feels it's a housekeeping measure that cleans up leftover requirements that are no longer needed, then I'm fine with that.
And, you know, the other thing is Carolyn's on vacation this week, so I wasn't able to speak directly with her today. That's, you know, part of this. She's on vacation till the 19th. So.
Solicitor Seawald?
I guess the question is, what do we mean by a housekeeping amendment? That's the bottom line. I don't think that there's anything about this that Nathan doesn't think should be looked at, but that it's not a housekeeping item in the sense that changing he or she to they is just a housekeeping item. It's not a substantive change, and this is a substantive change, so probably shouldn't be in housekeeping. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't look at it, but just not look at it through the housekeeping process.
Right.
I think
And
that,
yeah.
Wait, is housekeeping a formal name for a process? Okay, just checking, because as far as
well,
I
we've used this historically in this committee when we're just going through the ordinance and making, you know, non-substantive changes because,
right. Yeah, okay.
right.
And I can see how this could be considered a substantive change. And also, it still feels very like a very simple decision.
But it's a decision. It's
Yeah.
not just,
But it's
you
a
know,
decision. It's
right.
not just, we already agreed to do this, and here are the places where the language needs to change.
Right.
Okay.
Councilor Moulton.
Well, okay. If planning and sustainability now is wanting to pull that particular element back out of the housekeeping package because they feel it's more substantive, then that's fine. But if it's somebody just raising the question, I still feel it falls broadly within what I would regard as housekeeping, which is catching up with outdated requirements.
Laura, looked like you had something
Yeah,
to say also.
I just think in the interest of full disclosure, Nathan felt, he should bring that to the attention that there was some kind of a change in process there. So, yeah, no, I think they still felt comfortable submitting it as a housekeeping change.
Okay.
He wasn't asking to pull it. He was just bringing that to people's attention, flagging it.
Councilor Perry.
So I was thinking, I kind of agree with Councilor Moulton that it feels housekeepery, but just in the interest of time, I'd be willing to say that all the other housekeeping things are stuff that I would have moved forward positively. And let's just pull out that one thing until Carolyn comes back from vacation, so we can
And we
check
can have like a more substantive discussion
Okay.
about it.
or just see what Carolyn thinks.
Yeah, exactly.
Feels solid.
I like that. I like that idea.
I don't know what the process of. I don't know if you have to approve anything, but I feel like for me, I read over everything and makes sense. So
Yeah.
I am okay with all those changes. So there you are.
We make a motion.
Do we need a motion?
I mean, I don't know. That's a good question. Just something that says that we approve of them. Laura?
I thought it'd be something like, recommending the changes to the zoning ordinance proposed by the planning department as part of the group's report or,
Okay.
yeah, because then
So
we
just
would
like-
attach it.
So we'll just save it for our final report then. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I thought you could make recommending approval of the housekeeping changes to the zoning ordinances as part of the final report, meaning that you're intending it to be included in the
Gotcha.
ultimate final report.
There should be a motion and a vote to include this in the final report.
Okay.
There
Gotcha.
should be some process
Thank
by
you.
which it gets into the final report. And
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You good? Okay. All right. Well, does anyone want to make a motion? Councilor Moulton?
All right. Well, I will move that we recommend these housekeeping changes, except for what has already been removed, which is the change in the definition of open space that's covered by the Jarrett Elkins ordinance that's going to the city council on August 21st. The main wall sign requirements, which I asked to be removed because I thought it was better placed with our discussion about changes in sign ordinances overall. And then the latest one that we've just discussed, which we're holding off on until we consult with Director Mish. And then the one that deals with pedestrians.
Definition of frontage was the other one that I crossed off.
Definition of frontage.
Because Nathan was saying that would create some pre-existing non-conforming lots.
Yes, I think we don't want to include that right now as part of the housekeeping that we're approving. So with those exceptions, I would move approval of, or that we recommend approval of the the rest of the housekeeping package from planning and sustainability.
Awesome.
I'll second that. Any more discussion before we vote on that? Okay, roll call. Oh, sorry, Laura, go ahead.
Just to clarify, you're recommending approval of them as part of the final report.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly, yes.
All right. Councillor Dobbs,
Yes.
Councillor Moulton,
Yes.
Councillor Perry,
Yes.
Member Cutler,
Okay. Yes.
Member Moses.
Yes.
I just like to shake it up, you know that.
Of course. Okay. So that passes. Oh, we're finished the vote, right? Yes. Okay. So next, oh, wait, we're still talking about housekeeping, right? So we got the gender neutral language is the next one on the list. And I think we had already talked about who was going to work on this, but I feel like the point of this meeting is to kind of make it official, like how we're going to proceed with each thing. So, Councillor Perry, you were interested in this, am I correct?
Gender neutral language.
Yes.
I
I
mean,
might be wrong.
I'm interested in everything, but I believe last meeting, Molly, you were saying maybe you would be down to.
Right.
that one.
Sorry.
Yes, and at the same time, the understanding that Laura Kretzler was providing is that perhaps this is a general code issue and there might not need to be specific instruction other than to like a referral so to guide them that any time that there is he or she included to instead have, yes, if you could remind me, because faltering here. Yes.
Solicitor Siwa.
We're gonna have to tell general code what changes to make. They won't make changes on their own.
Oh, so
We're gonna
it
specifically go through the code and
oh, okay.
pick out the he and she's or and tell them, and I would be happy to draft the formal language, because of course the city council is going to have to vote on this, and so and I'll draft the documents for city council if we have a list of the he's and she's that need to go.
Okay, so I will. So it seems like there still is the task on one of us, and I have volunteered to, and building on what the city resident who brought this forward has already done, because there were a number of references that they already provided, I believe. Just
Okay, Councilor Perry.
I would say, first of all, thank you, Molly, for doing this, or volunteering to do it. And I believe it was Ace Taylor who
thank you.
brought it up, and they probably would be willing to assist as well if you're like, hey Ace, where did you leave off? Just to speed up the process. I think
That's a good idea. Laura?
Well, then I wondered too, I came across, and Molly had already brought this to attention, that there was a section of the code called construction and definitions. And actually there's also a section at the beginning of the code, gender. I can't remember how it's titled, but I was wondering if it could be accomplished by simply changing that section. I'd sent out an email and now I'm trying to remember the specifics, but rather than going through saying something like every place he and she is meant, it should be construed. I have to read, expanding on what it already said. It already says something about how gender should be interpreted, but so I was wondering if it could be accomplished rather than just removing everything by changing that. And should I pull it up and so you guys know what I'm talking about? Or
Yeah,
Simone, go ahead.
I have that email, that July 31st email.
Awesome.
From you, Laura, and this is section 116, rules of construction and definitions, specifically gender identity or expression. And this was brought to your attention by Clerk Powers.
Thank
right?
you. Yes.
Yes.
Which I wasn't aware that section even existed, yes.
So I don't know the answer to your question, but it might be something that Molly might want to consult with Clerk Powers about in her continued work on this.
Um, so there are two different things that are being referenced. One is in 116A, gender identity or expression. It's interesting that it says as used in the code, when actually there's no reference elsewhere in the code to gender identity or expression. So it's interesting that the term got defined and then didn't get further used.
Hmm.
So
And there's something in the charter as well.
and that was added December 15th, 2005. So I wonder if we would be able to search up someone who worked on that ordinance review committee, or if we could find some historical memory around where that came in. So let's search, or I can't call him.
Oh, you can call him if you.
Oh.
So I don't know that let me start again. There was no ordinance review committee in 2005 because the ordinance review came in with 2012 in the new charter.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
I don't know how that happened, but it didn't happen from an ordinance review committee under the current charter because this is pre-charter. That was pre-charter. That was under the old charter.
And also looking at this definition, just as someone who works in the field, I'm not sure I would, if it includes a person's actual or perceived gender, because someone's so to speak perceived gender is not actually someone's gender identity or expression. If someone else is like, I think you're such and such. So if I don't know if Ace Taylor is a person who would be interested in like just looking at that with me and seeing whether that needs to be tailored a bit. But I can go on to 116.2 and talk about that piece that Laura Kurtzler you were asking about, unless there was a comment right there on what I just said. Okay. So on 116, 2, gender. A word importing the masculine gender only shall extend and be applied to females and to firms, partnerships, and corporations, as well as to males. Don't know where that ends up coming up, where it's firms, partnerships, and corporations. But certainly, I think that, I don't know when that got added. It doesn't have an amendment in it. It could be very old. My understanding is that if we're looking at a modern document, it's not considered sufficient to say, oh, every place it says he, just substitute for he, that we really mean everyone. And so I do wonder whether we need to alter that or remove that entirely if we don't think of it as being relevant here. But I do think that it brings the document to the present day and to the current local cultures, because there's cultural variation in how people talk about gender, but that current local cultures that we are, as City of Northampton, representing would probably just get rid of the masculine and find a way to refer to people that is inclusive of a variety of genders throughout the document.
Okay.
So I don't know if that, I don't know whether that changing something in the rules of construction and definitions, whether in those two forms, whether that would still be considered housekeeping or not. So I just want to get a temperature check there. If there's no other reference to gender in the entire document, taking out a gender identity definition, unless the code for some reason is like, and this I guess is maybe for the counselors and our legal representation to let me know, is this saying like this is how the city is, like in all the city's life is going to think about gender identity and expression, or is it just saying in the code, should this become relevant in the code at any point?
Alan?
So this generally comes up when a statute describes what a person can do. And generally a person is a natural person, a corporation, an LLC, and other forms of non-natural persons. So that's the clarification that statutes usually use in definitions. Neither of the sections we've just talked about speaks at all to what Ace was talking about, which is getting rid of he or she
Right.
and going to a neutral word. And neither of those accomplish that. Neither of those sections we just identified. Excuse me. And the section you just read only applies to the code, so that we're talking about how to interpret the code in that section.
And so it seems like maybe we've got two tasks that have come. One, so there's the one that Ace Taylor encouraged that I will follow up on, we will follow up on. And then now we have a different open question, which is, do we need to update the rules of construction and definitions? Is there anything that we want, like for the first one, where there's a definition of gender identity or expression, if that's maybe something was in the code and then got deleted from the code where it was relevant, do we want it there even if it's not actually applying to anything in the code? Or so because someone might want to put something back in, or if it's not relevant to the code, shall we just take it out? Okay. And is that a housekeeping move?
Feels like it might be. I don't know. Sounds like maybe it is.
Okay. Then I move to put sort of double checking that we're not accidentally doing something really bad. And if we are not accidentally doing something really bad, striking gender identity or expression as a definition from the rules of construction and definitions alongside 116(2) regarding a word importing the masculine gender, because we will also be removing all references to masculine gender in the document.
I think I quite caught that. Could you restate that motion?
Sure.
I got the part about move to double check they're not accidentally doing something really
yes,
bad, and if
I got
not,
confused in myself. I apologize.
oh,
So
no problem. I think I
motion-
couldn't quite hear you.
Yes, my motion is to maybe between now and next session, just double check that we're not running afoul of anything accidentally by striking the gender identity or expression definition. And so, or if not, putting that and 116(2), striking those two things on the housekeeping list. Basically, I move to put those as a separate item on the housekeeping list that then we can next session just go, yes.
Are you striking completely 116A, the gender identity definition? Is that what you're saying? I'm sorry.
Yes, that is what we are considering.
Okay.
I don't feel in my full mind to have thought through, like, is there any accidental risk to taking that out? But it seems like it's risk. I don't know.
I don't see any risks either.
Okay. Then I don't know. Could I just propose to strike those two as long as we go through the document and remove all references to quote unquote masculine gender, so that we're not. Counselor Perry?
Yeah.
Sorry, my face always says that I need to say something. I would suggest that this is part of kind of the assignment of going and doing some of this work before we get into making motions.
Sure.
I feel like just doing some double checking and then maybe coming back and forth. I don't have enough information to workshop it right now. So maybe between now and the next session, you can talk to some folks and then we can talk about it.
I mean, that's I'm totally good with.
Yeah, that kind of goes along with what I was thinking, is that right now we're just kind of like figuring out who's gonna be doing like the work on
Okay.
it, and then what we'll do in the future is that when it's time to talk about it at a meeting, we'll make it like a specific agenda item at a future meeting,
Wonderful.
where this is
Sorry,
what we'll
sorry
talk
for
about.
taking the time with that.
Oh, no, it's very helpful. All of this is helpful just to
Okay. So I
know
guess what we're concluding is that this is a housekeeping item. I'm taking responsibility for it, and that we now recognize that this task has two parts. One is shifting pronouns, etc., throughout the document, and the second is to update the rules of construction and definitions to reflect that change.
Great. And also, sort of what I was thinking also for like how we proceed is that, so maybe like when it's time, when you feel like you're ready to talk about this at a meeting, maybe you could contact me or Laura or Garrick, and just let us know, and then we can make it an agenda item. Like if you just like let us know when you think it's time. Does that make
Great.
sense?
Yep.
Okay, great. Awesome. Sweet. Okay, so the only other thing on the housekeeping list was the wild animals one, and I have to admit that I'm not sure if I remember who brought that up. Was that you, Molly? Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead. Do you want to talk about it, or I kind of forget what it was about?
Okay. This was okay. Let's see. Where was it? It was just there's a place where it says
128.1 wild animals. Do you want me to pull it up?
sure.
Okay.
It says
Oops. Okay, let me see if I can make it bigger. Yikes. For some reason I have trouble making things bigger. Oh, I think maybe. Okay, 1 second. Yikes. First paragraph A there, the last sentence of it. Trouble
Right.
scrolling.
It's the same as properly secured in some covered vehicle or cage and is in charge of a person competent to control said wild animal, rather than is in the charge of a person competent to control said wild animal. Like there's
Oh,
just the missing the.
yeah. But that does change it. Yeah, it's important to have it there. That seems like a quick housekeeping change. Garrick, Council Perry.
Laura, could you bring that back up again for a second?
Sure, 1 second.
Because and so I was just wondering, Molly, is the question about the way I'm reading it, maybe so Seawald can clarify it, but I'm seeing no person shall lead or drive or transport an animal unless so that and is in charge of a person. So there's an animal handler, and then there's a person who is leading or driving.
Yes, yes. But
Okay.
even what you just said is said, I believe you said in the charge of a person instead of in charge of a person.
Well, so the person driving can be the management. Like say I'm the, I don't know, the driver of the vehicle, and I've hired a person to take care of this animal. I'm in charge of that person.
Oh, wait.
That's what I'm seeing. Am I reading that correctly, Solicitor Seawold?
One wonders where this came from, first of all. This goes along with pushing fruit up Main Street.
Okay, so there was this really, really angry moose this one time.
Right, but was somebody driving or this moose up Main Street?
I have no comment about what happened or how the moose got in the back of my truck.
Right. So I think I understand that the object of the phrase "is in charge of" is the immediately preceding, which is the animal. So the way this reads, and Molly, tell me if I'm not hearing what you're saying. The way this reads is that it sounds like the animal has to be in charge of the person. And I'm wondering whether, when we're talking about wild animals, if this is an ordinance we still need, or whether we really want to start making fine adjustments to this ordinance. I mean, we're talking about wild animals. We're not talking about dogs or you know, I mean, I suppose somebody could be walking a ferret up Main Street, but it's not really a wild animal. It's a domestic
I
animal.
think we're talking about circuses.
Right.
Oh,
I think that's true.
And so I think the wording of the wording of this ordinance was not well edited. And
You
but
think?
I do think that. So if I mean, if we're going to keep it on the books, then I think that that it needs to be clear that, as Councilor Perry was saying, that we're talking about a manager and a trainer, and there may be two different people. But as Solicitor Seawall pointed out, it looks like the animal is in charge of a person.
And if I may, I'm wondering whether it would make sense to end this subparagraph at the word limits, prohibiting the driving of wild animals on any public way.
there might be reason for transport in the back of a vehicle.
In a cage.
Right. So they just have to be, we could, instead of in charge of, like, unless the animal is properly secured or is under the responsibility of, you know, is transported in a safe manner.
Doesn't sound like housekeeping to me.
At that
Sounds like
point, that's right. At that point, that's not housekeeping.
Right.
Adding the word "the" is housekeeping.
Right. So I guess the committee needs to decide how it wants to approach this ordinance, if at all.
My suggestion, given that there are so many things on our plate, is that whether or not this ordinance stays on the books does not have to be resolved this year, but we could make a very brief housekeeping change and maybe go so far as to say, this is an example of an ordinance that might be obsolete that a future committee could look at, but we did not address it in this round.
I concur with that.
Yeah, same here.
Let's clarify the language, and if we feel that it needs further study, we'll say that. As an example of, as Molly said, obsolete ordinances.
Okay, and what would be the next step with for this? Would Molly, would you work on this, or would we
Well,
just go
I
ahead?
think we're just talking about a simple insertion of
So adding
is that,
okay.
is that what
then
you were
yeah.
suggesting, Molly?
Yes.
Okay, I would be okay with approving that if that's what we're talking about. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I move to insert the word "the" before "charge of" in the ordinance that we have just been talking about.
Second.
Okay, that would be a motion made by Molly Moses, seconded by Councilor Molson. Roll call, Laura.
Okay, Councillor Dobbs,
Yes.
Councillor Moulton,
Yes.
Councillor Perry,
Yes.
Member Cutler,
Absolutely.
and Member Moses.
Yes.
And this is for our final report. Is that what this is, or is that right? This will go on the final report. Yeah. Okay. Well, next we have assignments for the actionable items that we talked about. Basically just divvying up the responsibilities on this. Um, Personally, snow removal and the impediments to sidewalks, I'd be happy to take that one. And if anybody else wants to collaborate on that, just let me know. Councilor Moulton.
Yes, I'm letting you know.
Oh,
Happy to
oh, you,
collaborate.
oh, okay,
Happy
thank
to
you.
collaborate with you on that, to follow up on the hearing we held last winter.
Great, yeah, that sounds great. Maybe we can meet up and talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then let's see, we got the sign ordinance.
Working on that. We talked about this last meeting. Solicitor Seawald, Carolyn Mish, and I are working on that, or continuing to work on that one.
Excellent, thank you. And how about the food trucks? Councilor Perry?
I mean, that's one of the things they brought up. I'm interested in it, but I've always accept help. I know that Dane was interested in that as well. So
Yeah. Right now I don't even know where the food truck ordinances live. And so, but I'm more than happy to tackle that with you.
yeah, let's go find it.
Excellent.
Molly just texted me where they are. Thanks, Molly.
How about the gas-powered lawn equipment?
As somebody who had landscaping done outside her window today, I'm so ready to ban this right now. Let's just do it.
Okay.
That is not me volunteering.
Oh, no, I know. Oh, you're not volunteering. Okay. Anyone interested in this one? In tackling this?
Ugh.
Sure what tackling requires.
I guess basically
Um,
just looking into it and seeing what you think about it and if you think it needs any changes.
What?
Councilor Moulton.
Actually, this is a big one. I mean,
Okay.
this would require a new ordinance, and at least one of the correspondences that has been distributed by Laura had examples of ordinances that could be used as a template or that could be drawn from other communities in Massachusetts and elsewhere.
Okay, great. So yeah, this is a new ordinance that would be
Yeah.
suggested.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
Stan was saying, and I said last meeting, this is a big one to tackle. I see. Again, I see two things. One is how the city deals with how we utilize landscaping equipment, but then the other is the public. And are we banning things? What are we doing? So I think it's a big one that might need all of us. So maybe
That's
that
true.
should be separate.
Yeah.
Bring in the director of CAPA, bring in DPW. Like I think it's going to need a couple departments to touch it. So
Good idea. Maybe we could have a meeting where we make that an item. We invite them.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the correspondence that I was referring to was sent by Laura on July 8th, or no, July 9th. That has several attachments. With examples.
Wonderful. Okay, so we will address that soon at a future meeting. The next one is recycling. I believe that was Molly. Was that you that had been talking about that? I forget. Yeah. Oh, I can't hear you.
I believe Councilor
sorry.
Perry was saying that that was something that needed business input, that it wasn't as and just my position not as a counselor, I don't feel competent to be the one to follow up with, like, I don't have any of those relationships developed.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm passionate about it, but I don't think I can be point person on the matter. But if no one else is that passionate about it, I could try to be point person and just ask people to help me out.
I could certainly, like, we could work on that together. You could like tell me what your ideas are, and I could like reach out to the people that we need to reach out to.
Okay,
Does that sound good?
that sounds great.
Okay, Councilor Moulton?
This was one where we were trying to match the current definition of recyclable materials to what is actually accepted at the recycling center on Locust Street. Trying to determine if that,
Except it seems that it already perhaps is, because Springfield, it goes to Springfield. I think that's what
the
I was
MRF.
told. Right. And so perhaps this is actually one that is more of an enforcement measure. And also maybe clarifying within that ordinance, like referral back to the definition, saying see back for the definition of what constitutes recyclable.
Yes, I think that was the sticking point. If it's recyclable anywhere, it doesn't help to have that very broad category included in a Northampton ordinance. If those of us who are who are most subject to it can't take it to the recycling center and have it recycled. So I think there's some research that may be needed, and also I would suggest that the Youth Commission has been very active on this subject. So you might want to draw the Youth Commission into this discussion as well.
Right. So, Councilor Perry?
Yeah, okay, cool. I don't know if my mic was on. I also think that maybe we should reach out to Councilor Maori, who did some work on this recently.
Okay.
Am I correct, Stan? Didn't
Yes,
the previous council?
probably in the last term. Yes. Yeah, there were some. Yeah, I do remember some changes that were made, and I think she was involved in that ordinance.
Does Solicitor Seawald, do you remember this? This is before my time. What was?
I'm sorry, do I remember changes? Are we still talking about recycling?
Yeah, that I believe Councilor Maori. Oh, Laura's there. Right.
It was definitely Councilor Maori. It was somebody else as well, I believe, but I'm not sure who. But yeah, when they passed the plastic reduction ordinance, yeah,
I know
she was
that
one of the sponsors.
I attended a meeting with Councilor Maori and Ben from Kappa and at the mayor's office. I don't remember who else was there. And we had talked about that because she wanted to bring something forward, and Ben sort of discouraged her from doing that because it's really not working, and what she had proposed wouldn't work. And so I could be refreshed on that, but I don't remember I'm looking at the mandatory recycling ordinance, and it's 272-15, and it basically requires recycling, but it doesn't really say what numbers are going to be recycled or anything like that. That would have to be done on the executive level, and I'm not really sure that there's much necessity for an ordinance change here. We have mandatory recycling, and so I'm not really sure what the proposed amendments would be.
Well, if there is a business that is not adhering to this, what happens? This doesn't seem like it as a code point that has a violation fee associated with it. Oops, we can't hear you, Councilor.
Muted.
Are we talking about businesses using takeout,
Yes.
Containers? Let me just see where that is, because there must be an enforcement mechanism.
272-18.
18. So there is an enforcement section. It's sub D. and it's $50 for the first offense, 100 for the second offense, and subsequent offenses. So there is an enforcement mechanism here,
Okay.
And
but
the
but
enforcement,
you really should bring in Ben Weil to talk about this, because he was very clear about how this is not working.
excuse me, Alan, who's the enforcement agency on that?
Says the mayor's designee shall issue, yeah, the mayor's designee.
Okay.
So it sounds like maybe this requires some future discussion. Oh, Councilor Perry, were you going to say something?
Yes, I pretty much along the same line as the last one, is that this is going to require a couple people who've touched it before and some departments. So my thought is maybe me and you, Jeremy, get together and pick a date so we can get this information out ASAP. If we're going to talk to the Youth Commission, Ben at Kappa, we do want to reach out to some of the businesses. There is a business forum tomorrow, so I can kind of field that. But I feel like it is, if we're going to look at this, we do need to look at all these people. And also, Councilor Maori, it looks like Jesse Adams was counselor back then when they made this.
No, because he hasn't been counselor since I've been here, and this new plastic reduction has been since I've been here.
Okay.
I think it's like 2021. I mean, when it was most recently updated anyways. I don't know.
Yeah, so I was looking at the original ordinance 27218, and it's the recommendation of Councilor Jesse Adams, Councilor Paul Spector, and the Youth Commission.
Weird, because there was another one passed since I've been here, and I haven't worked with Jesse Adams at all.
Yeah. All right, well, it just means that we should, Jeremy and I, we should look
okay. There was an amendment in 2021. Okay, added 2015, and then it was amended.
All right.
It's
significantly.
interesting that this was updated so recently, and so I really want to make a mat to honor the decisions that were made so few years ago, and to understand that people probably put a lot of effort into having it be worded the way it is.
Well, I would, again, I would consult with Councilor Maori, who has worked on this. And this precedes Ben Weil's time or precedes Kappa. So a discussion, maybe a preliminary discussion with Director Weil to determine whether you think that this merits bringing it to the whole group for a fuller discussion.
Councilor Perry?
I would agree with Councilor Moulton in that we should bring people in, have the discussion, and I mean, it could eventually go back into the study further. Bucket where we suggest that, but
yeah. Laura?
But wasn't the specific question that Molly raised was whether or not the black containers that some restaurants are using was prohibited by the ordinance or not, and is it an enforcement issue that restaurants are using these containers, or does something need to be changed in the ordinance? It wasn't broader than that, was it?
Right, that was the original question.
I didn't hear a larger desire to change the ordinance. I thought that was a more specific question that was raised, that what needed to be settled. Is this a matter of going to these restaurants and informing them those are prohibited under this ordinance? Or is it a matter of we need to make the ordinance more specific because they're not strictly prohibited? I thought that was the question. I just don't want to open a larger can of worms if that's not what really the basis of the concern is. But
so Molly did bring that up, and then I also mentioned that at one of the business forum meetings, it has been discussed multiple times about that ordinance.
Okay.
And there's desire in the business community to look at that ordinance and how it does not fit certain business models such as coffee shops, who most of their things are takeout. So there is that is how we got to this place.
Hmm.
Is that people have reached out to me and have said that they want to look at it.
It also, something that I also am looking at this, I see that there is at the very least a temporary provision that people can get from the designee, from the mayor's designee, that places can be exempt for up to a year. I imagine that that year has already passed though, because the ordinance has been in here for a while. So I don't know if that makes that paragraph just kind of confusing and should no longer be there, because presumably there has been an onboarding period, or whether we need to re-up an onboarding period if we make any changes. It's also like, it's not as if there's a placard in a restaurant that has been given an exception so that every consumer knows, like, hey, you're seeing something not kosher here, so to speak, but there's been an exception made. And that's also a funny thing for people just patronizing establishments to know, is this place, does this place need to be reported, or is this actually fine because the mayor has said it's fine?
Alan?
The exemption is not for the first year, it's for any year.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes.
So you're saying that an exemption could be granted
At any time,
at any time? Okay.
for up to a year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Councilor Perry's point is that this is something that the business community, the restaurants, have flagged as something that needs to be reviewed. So, yeah, I think we should go forward with a discussion with Director Weil, with Councilor Maori, and with somebody from the Youth Commission, since they have in the past been a driver on this.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Okay. Any other thoughts on this before we move on? Okay. How about the tweaking outdoor lighting and form-based code? That was something we had talked about as an actionable item. Was there anyone in particular that was interested in that one? Councilor Perry.
I think that when Councilor Moulton brought this up last time about Dan Brindell bringing up the form-based code, there's been a lot of work to make that happen. I don't know what everyone's appetite is to go back and try and do that again. Maybe it's a future study thing. I mean, there are some things that could be looked at, but Councilor Moulton, what do you think?
I think that it is something that we want to flag as further study to build on a discussion that was had in July, Legislative Matters Planning Board hearing on the Holly Phillips Place development, that there was some feeling that that the city should look at the buffering between the side street, the central business side street districts and the residential, and I think that makes sense. I don't think it's something that we should undertake. I just think that we should reinforce that we feel that should be studied. In terms of the outdoor lighting, it was Councilor Perry, you had suggested that there were some concerns from businesses about the impact of some elements of that big package of changes that was just adopted last year.
Yes, some representatives from the group that helped put forward that legislation came to some business meetings, and I think that if we want to look at it, we could at least have I'm feeling like we're doing a lot, I'm hearing Alan Seawald over my shoulder being like, slow down and pick and choose. But there is an appetite for the businesses to talk about what this lighting ordinance means for them practically. I had mentioned last time that there was concerns about the with the flags being stolen from faces and some other things. There's businesses are talking about just safety and security as the houseless situation is there, lighting for their employees, what enforcement looks like. There's just a lot of questions about it. So it could be, I think if we want to do our due diligence, we could at least have a meeting where we discuss things, but I'm feeling like this goes into further study. But I don't want to sway this conversation. I think that the way I look at it is we could at least have a meeting where we talk about it and see what the questions are. So I'll leave it to you guys or us to discuss now.
Can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I said that sounds good. Councilor Moulton.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that it would again. I want to try to be as responsive as possible to all groups or individuals who have brought concerns or ideas to us. I like the idea of at least hearing more from the business community, and then probably suggesting that this be further studied by planning and sustainability and advocates for the outdoor lighting changes to look at any unintended consequences and how it could be tweaked in within, say, the first 2 years after it was adopted, which we're coming up on. But not as a, I think we can have that discussion, but not as a major piece of work for us.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Any other thoughts? Moving on to assignments for referrals, which is basically where we will refer these ones to someone else to look at. For example, the noise ordinance, that's one we had talked about referring to the licensing commission. I'd be happy to work on that. I know that Councilor Perry, you were also interested in that. We could collaborate on that, or
Yep.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Maybe we could work on a letter to write a letter together to the licensing commission with our suggestions. Or
And well, then with that, I would also suggest the patrons past 1 a.m. is a licensing thing.
oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, we could just combine those and work on those together.
Let's work.
I like that. Laura?
And Meg Robbins was looking to hear back from on the behalf of her constituents. Could whoever
Yeah,
writes the letter also communicate
Sure.
with her?
I'd be happy to do that because I know Meg and I could just reach out to her.
She was also wondering
like it.
how we can make quieter trains. So,
She was, yeah.
Hey, with that,
She was like, she was being facetious, but
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, sorry. Was somebody saying something? Dane?
Yeah, I am loath to put more on this committee's plate, but it just hit me. We may get traction or community support around the idea of an ordinance against law enforcement officers masking in the street so that their identities are obscured, or an ordinance requiring that their badge numbers be visible.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on the topic. I don't know how.
Yeah, Alan, go ahead, shoot it down, Bubba.
Okay, the charter prohibits council from directing how executive employees carry out their functions. So that's not an ordinance that we can pass. That is an executive function to decide how police officers operate. And, that's something.
So what you're saying is we have to petition the police chief if we want to we members of, residents of the city want to make that happen. We have to convince the police chief that it should become a thing?
Or the mayor. The mayor's the police chief's boss.
Okay. Understood. Good to know.
Are officers masking up or hiding their badges?
I think she's talking
They,
about
I-
ice. Yeah.
well, so ICE is one problem, and not that our cops are going to go out and arrest ICE for masking, but it would be nice to be able to say you can't do that here, and also make it clear that NPD can't do that here. But today in town, there were photographs taken of somebody that the photographer believed was ICE because they were masked and wearing dark sunglasses and dressed in what looked like a cop costume from a costume store. And so they were like, obviously this is ICE. They called loose the hotline. And actually it was members of DA Sullivan's anti-crime statewide task force. So they're apparently doing that now. I don't love it. Alan, what?
We cannot control what ICE does. We cannot.
Oh, we can't
control
control what ICE does. We can't control what DA Sullivan's statewide task force does. I am well aware of that. It feels like one of the many things that the council occasionally passes resolutions about things we have no control over, saying we think this should be a thing.
But this is ordinance review. This is not resolution review.
Yeah, like that could
Understood.
Dane, that could be something. Just making a quick suggestion. Like you could maybe suggest that as like a resolution for the city council to write,
Totally
which
legit. Brought it up because I thought it could be an ordinance. Understand it can't be an ordinance.
oh
Moving it
totally, yeah,
along.
no,
Yep.
awesome. Thank you. And
Yep.
I'm with you on what you're saying. I just yeah,
You want to bring it up as a resolution?
I'd be happy to support that. Yeah, let's talk about
Oh,
it then.
I have to show up to open comment and propose it, don't I? All right,
You
next.
don't have to you don't have to do that, but you can.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
Go for it. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's talk more about that, Dane. And then
Yeah.
the reserved signs and basically the next one was about replacing signs that say handicapped on them with signs that say reserved parking instead, and then also have a different accessibility icon of a person in a wheelchair who's moving rather than the old icon, which is someone who's not mobile, they're just like kind of sitting in their wheelchair. Um, and I'd be happy to work on that one too and see what needs to what I'd like to find out what work we've already done as a city on this, because I know that we got started on it at some point, but maybe didn't finish it, and so I'd like to do some looking into that, and I'm gonna contact Keith Benoit, he's the ADA coordinator, and he could probably just tell me exactly where we're at on that issue. So I'd be happy to just take that one. Okay. And then the e-bikes topic. Councilor Moulton.
Yes, I suggested last meeting that we advise George Kohout, who raised this with us, to take it to Transportation and Parking, specifically the Bike Pedestrian Subcommittee. And I talked with him Monday, told him this was going to be on our agenda today, and he agrees that that is the best forum for a full and robust discussion about better regulation of e-bikes, or raising questions about how they should be regulated and what the enforcement mechanism will be, both on roadways and bicycle paths. So he will be taking it to Transportation and Parking and to the Bike Ped Subcommittee.
Okay, great. That sounds like that's already going forward. So good to hear. Okay, well, next is to talk about our next meeting date.
Okay,
oh, go ahead.
Just one other cleanup. Just the reminder that came in today. Oh yeah, it's Claudia Lefko's conservation ordinance. She sent us a reminder today about it.
That's right. Yeah, she contacted me as well. Yeah.
In which she refers to a neighborhood dispute over a state law. It's a state law. It's a dispute in the Montview neighborhood. So this has limited applicability. To me, it's a regulatory issue that should be referred back to planning and sustainability, which oversees conservation land. It's not an ordinance that is needed. That's my opinion.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, I think that I talked with her as well, and we talked about meeting up. So I will pass along what you just said to her.
Well, I mean, that's my opinion I'm expressing to the committee. So if
Yeah,
anybody
yes.
else has differing opinions, please.
I do not personally have a differing opinion.
I am in agreement with you. It's from the correspondence I got, it seems to be very specific to one parcel of land, one home owner in particular. And I feel like that's not how you make ordinances. But
Laura?
I just wanted to say, I haven't even seen it, so if anyone wants it included on the miscellaneous referrals spreadsheet, somebody